I don't really trust the completeness of the team. I think under Mac Brown, they have been all offense, no defense, almost like a Big 12 team pulled out of time from 2011. So I think, especially the way that Spencer Rattler closed the year last year, the way that South Carolina offense closed the year last year, I think they're going to put up really big numbers in this spot. I think it's always telling when you have a ranked team, and especially like early in the year, you have a ranked team, they're playing an unranked team, and they're like a -1 favorite. And I think this game is at the Panthers Stadium. I think it's neutral site, but I kind of expect the crowd to tilt South Carolina, even though the game is technically in North Carolina. I think this is probably a South Carolina spot. I think I'd go Gamecocks money line, and I'd probably take the over there too.
Yeah, I've kind of been on the regression thing with them since last year. I mean, yes, they won the 13 games, but I mean, they also got outscored for the balance of the season. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I think their 4 losses in the regular season were like by an average of 22 points. So, I mean, when they lost, they really got blown out. And when they won, they barely won. We all remember the comeback against the Colts. I mean, Colts weren't a good team last year, and they had to really work to beat them. I think that they'll probably be in a fair amount of kind of 30 to 27 kind of games. But I mean, I'm also concerned when you take away Adam Thielen, when you take away Dalvin Cook. I would if I'm a coordinator, I'm triple teaming Justin Jefferson and daring Kirk Cousins to beat me with whatever else he's got. Like you guys said, knowing that I'm probably going to be able to hang 30 on this defense without a ton of effort. I mean, maybe Brian Flores will change that a little bit. I mean, you would hope he would as their new coordinator, but I really do think that they're going to come back to average in a big way.
But we know the difference. The Ravens are 45-16 when he starts. They're 8-13 when he doesn't. And most of those losses have happened in December, the last 2 years. I mean, that's the problem as well, more than 2 years. But you get the last 2 years specifically, we've really seen the Ravens just completely fall off once Lamar Jackson is not out there at quarterback. I mean, this is a guy, now when you add Odell Beckham Jr. and you add Zay Flowers and you look at, Mark Andrews already being out there, now you're not going to have him be the sole focal point of every defense, knowing that that's his best weapon to throw the football to. There's just so much more there. Lamar Jackson's already won 1 MVP. It's not crazy to think that Lamar Jackson at 14-1 could win his second MVP this season.
Especially this offense.
If they're in that offense, and then we're again new coordinator on top of that with Todd Monken, like all the pieces are there for this to really open up and allow him to really be what he is, but also allow the Ravens to be what they can be. That team has been really good the last couple of seasons before Lamar Jackson got hurt. We were talking about him for MVP, 2 seasons ago? I don't know if it was as much this past year. But definitely 2 years ago at the beginning of the year. Maybe even some of this past season we just had. But either way, they're a team that starts off like 7-1 and then he gets hurt and then everything falls off.
Yeah, you go back to that MVP season 2019 and you look at who he was throwing the ball to as well, and look at the numbers, man. 36 touchdown passes, 6 picks. And that's why I'm saying, I mean, I know he's been hurt the last 2 years, but the last 2 years when he's got injured, they have been the best team in the division. And Jalen was really good last year, 22 touchdowns to just 6 picks. The year before that, 16 touchdowns to 9 picks. But would you take Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson? I still think I would take Lamar. I know he's younger, and I know that he's hasn't had the injuries, but I'd still take Lamar.
I would. God, that's really tough. Because the issue for me there is, okay, Jalen Hurts has gotten a team to a Super Bowl. We haven't seen that with Lamar Jackson yet.
Back the foil, more leftovers. Changed my mind on a Tuesday. Josh Allen, plus 750 at BetMGM to win NFL MVP. Will finally win that coveted award. By the way, he's number 7 on the ESPN Top 100, as the boys just touched on. If you missed it, check it out in podcast form. He's going to finally win this award, Nick, because the expectations aren't as high as the last 2 years. Our friend Nate Davis of USA Today with some interesting insight about the Bills as well. You guys talked about the drama. Yada, yada, yada. Changed my mind. He's going to win it.
I just struggle with all the other quarterbacks that have the potential to be on teams that could be even better. Like, there's an argument to be made for the Bills regressing this season. Now, it may only be 1 fewer win, let's say. But what if the Chargers? What if the Jags? We just talked about Trevor Lawrence. What if the Eagles? All of those teams win 13 games. Well, you're most likely going to see those quarterbacks get named MVP, one of them, over somebody like Josh Allen, because we've already seen this before. What's happening to Josh Allen may not be fair, but it's the reality where you start to get a little bit tainted. There's just a little bit of a cloud hanging over him now, where you've seen the potential, we've had the expectations, but he hasn't really answered it. You haven't seen that in the playoffs yet. And even though MVP is a regular season award, that still sticks in the back of minds of voters. It's a narrative-based award. Never forget that it's a narrative-based award. So there's probably 3 or 4 other quarterbacks. We know it's going to be a quarterback 99% of the time. There's like 3 or 4 other quarterbacks that I would take and be more comfortable betting on than Josh Allen. Plus, when you're sitting there at plus 750, I mean, again, I like somebody like Trevor Lawrence at 16-1. Yeah. I like Jalen Hurts at 11-1. So from a value perspective, too, I'd also lean in the direction of those guys.
Yeah, I'd want a little bit better of a price. I'd worry a little bit about the Madden curse, half joking. I'd worry a little bit like who's
wide
wide
receiver. Why would you be half joking? It's a thing.
Who's wide receiver number 2? Is Gabe Davis ready to make that leap? I know he was dinged last season. Are him and Stephon Diggs going to be on the same page? But you know, I mean, you can't make the case for Josh Allen just because everything he does in that offense. He's going to rush for over 500 yards if healthy. He's probably going to score double-digit touchdowns with his legs. He's probably going to add another 25 to 30 with his arm. He's really good on third downs. They don't really have a run game. So it makes sense. I would just want a better price than plus 750.
What if they just decide, like, let's say they're 2-10. And Kyler Murray is ready to come back, and they just say, nah, just sit out for the season.
That's what they should do.
That's what they should do.
Right.
The problem is he definitely knows what they're trying to do.
See.
And that becomes an issue within the organization because he ain't stupid. He knows if they're sitting him out the rest of the season and they're in line for the number 1 overall pick or even the number 2 overall pick, wherever it is, they're going to look at quarterback potentially. And that's going to be a problem. Look, there's already friction between Kyler Murray and that organization. I know it's not all the same people that are still there, but there's problems there.
Oh, yeah. And it would be so, like we talked about last night, it would be so crazy if another Lincoln Riley pupil came and just replaced him, though, because you'd have Caleb Williams replacing Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be the funny part about it. I think the ceiling for Caleb Williams is much higher. And I like Kyler Murray, but also you have to think about it like this, man. If you have the number 1 overall pick and you're able to select Caleb Williams, he's younger, he doesn't have the injury history, he's bigger, and you also have one of the best trade chips then in the National Football League. Because there will be a huge market still for Kyler.
Oh, 100%.
Like Justin Fields doesn't have a good year. Maybe, Ryan Poles wants to keep his job. He didn't draft Justin Fields. He can move on there. The Commanders, I love Sam Howell.
What about the 49ers and that Kyle Shanahan offense?
The 49ers? He's a much better fit than Kirk Cousins.
Yes, he is.
And I like Kirk Cousins,
yeah.
But
the question just becomes, if that happens then, all right, so the Cardinals win a couple games, number 1 overall pick. You draft Caleb Williams. You're going to trade Kyler Murray. Everybody knows it, but you don't trade him until after you draft Caleb Williams. The question becomes, like, what is the market if it's after the draft? It's definitely a first-round pick, but how many?
Yeah.
They're going to want multiple first-round picks still. The problem is, knowing that you have Caleb Williams already, or the number 1 pick, and you're going to draft him, if there's trade talks going down before the draft, teams know. They're like, we know what you're going to do. We're not going to give you 4 first-round picks for a guy that you're already that you're going to move on from anyway.
Yeah.